Welcome, everybody, to the One to Go Show, episode 167. It is a strange voice. My name is Puka in the stocking cap, and it is the star of the show in the baseball cap and the Outlaw Graphics sweatshirt, the Ryan Aho. What's shaking, brother?
Everything if I walk fast. I can tell you that much. I got to be. So, Bert, best wishes to Bert. Bert come down with something. He's sick. Hopefully, he said he lost a bunch of weight. I'm like, well, maybe I need to get sick. I don't know. I hate being sick. I do need to drop 10 pounds or 20 or whatever, but I don't think I want to do it that way. So hopefully he gets well soon. But Puka, good to have you back on the evening, right? On the eve of the Minnesota State high school hockey tournaments. I was talking to Jeff. He's like, Puka is going to be on the show the week of the state high school hockey tournaments? Like, what? How'd that happen? I'm like, hey, he's a team player when we need him. He's a team player, yeah.
Called in, yeah, definitely, yeah. Big week here in Minnesota, that's for sure. And yeah, are you gonna be able to tune in a little?
Oh, okay. A lot, absolutely.
Awesome.
I mean, mostly listen, right? But yeah, I'll
safety
first.
first.
I'll have it on. I will be watching the state high school hockey tournament.
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
11 a.m. Central Time tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. So, all right. Well, hey, obviously, always presented by Dirt Track Supply. You want to take that one?
Just a great group of folks, right? You know, Ron and Trevor and the gang out there in Watertown, South Dakota. I mean, racing season right around the corner, right? Snow is going to melt soon. It is. I promise it's gonna. But whether you need parts, safety equipment, tires, you need fab work done, you need aluminum, you need a new chassis with the Aero chassis. I mean, these folks love dirt track racing, right? Some people are in business because, hey, I want to make a buck. Well, they want to make money. They're in business, right? But they do it because they love racing. And that shows with all the people they've helped over the years. So if you need anything, that's your go-to for all things racing, Dirt Track Supply over in Watertown, South Dakota.
All right, yeah. So you guys, everyone's going to stick around. We got some race fan feedback. A Minnesota driver impresses on opening weekend with the USMTS. Big drama on back-to-back nights and late model action down south. The Woo Sprints are back at Volusia. Our picks for the week and some bold predictions. And
you know, tire prices are rising, right? We talked about that. We don't need to throw anybody under the bus. It's just the way it is. Tire prices are going up way higher in some areas. We have a solution for you. Coming on today's show. Excited about a new partner there, so we'll talk about that soon. But what do you say we get into a blast to the past first, brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. So if you're a business owner, if you're self-employed, if you're an employee, but you got to pay for your own health care, whatever it may be, if you got to pay for your own health insurance costs, and you look at that every month and you're like, this is ridiculous. I don't even go to the doctor. Why am I paying so much? It's a good question, right? That's a good question. Get a hold of me on Facebook, right? You might have to refriend me now because I had to re-up that here about a month ago. But you can also text me, call me 218-969-1380. I can get you a quick quote. I can get you some information. Been able to literally cut people's monthly expenses in half on their health insurance stuff. So it's been a great deal. Check it out. I'll see if I can maybe help you.
Yeah, a quote doesn't hurt, right? Free quote doesn't hurt. Time to do work. All right. So, I mean, I don't think either of us have a 167.
I don't have a 167, but we should have a 67. Like, we should. You might get in trouble if you don't.
I was going to say, if I don't have a 60, well, it's like lots of things. It's like J.R. Tardy. It's like Jeff Tardy. It's like John Tardy. It's even my brother-in-law, Harlan Tardy, for a while.
Harlan Tardy. Yeah, we got Harlan.
Yeah, and then, of course, it's the godfather of them all, Lauren Tardy. That's the only number that comes to mind with 67 is associated with the Tardy name.
Yeah, I mean, another legacy family, right? You know, 3 generations of racing. You got Lauren, you got John, and then I think John is kind of Jeff's daddy.
Or did I skip John? I might even skip John. I'm sorry if I did. No. There's too many of them.
I'm kidding, Jeff. Relax. I'm kidding. I did not mean that. Is there going to be another generation? I mean, you look back, Lauren and Jeff both have multiple Labor Day shootout wins, which, you know, if you're not from the Iron Range, if you're not from the area, the Labor Day shootout is kind of the big invitational at the Hibbing Raceway at the home track. That's where the Tardis have raced for a long time, a very long time. And they've both won the biggest event at that racetrack multiple times. I'm a little salty about that. There was a time, I hear it all the time from my buddy JR, right? He goes, oh, my favorite moment in racing, Jeff won Labor Day and I got second and you got third. I'm like, yeah, you can piss off, right? I got third and that pissed me off. It took me too long to get around Stevie Thomas, and that was a good moment for the Tardis, first and second on Labor Day. Brothers, a little salty. JR was more 99, right? I don't know if he ever had 67. But
I thought he was 67 last year, and Eric was 99 also. Then you remember his younger brother Eric?
Yeah, Eric ran just a little stint.
Yeah,
there.
a little bit. And that's when we were in Montana, so I'd only see him like once or twice a year. But
I got an old picture here of actually when Harlan, which your brother-in-law Harlan, and then John and Jeff, they started. They had an old super stock, and they actually kind of took turns racing it. And it didn't take real long. Harlan was like, yeah, no, I'm better pit guy or whatever. Like I'm not the guy behind the wheel for sure. That's not me. So he got out of that. And then John drove, quite a while. Jeff didn't really take the realms right away. John drove for a little while. Yeah. And then he kind of realized too, he goes, I've had some decent runs, but Jeff's kind of the more talented one of the three there. But Lauren, I mean, he had some. It'd be fun to sit down with that whole family and just talk old racing stories, and because they have a lot of them for sure. Will there be another generation, right? Because I mean, if you look at between Harlan, right, and Lauren's kids all raced, all four. Yeah. Harlan's kid, which would be Harlan, Chad never raced, but that next generation, right? So John, I know you're listening to this, right? The One to Go show, me, Puka, like we'd be more than happy to kick in. We'll sponsor, right? Let's get your kid in the Hornet class. We will absolutely be happy to sponsor your kid. So we're just calling you out right now. John Tardy, we expect to see a Hornet with the number 67 on it this year or next. So you better be getting a hold of us sooner rather than later.
Well, and Jeff's boy Carson, he's 15. I mean, he's at that age. He's ready to rock and roll. He's ready to rumble.
He's there all the time, and he's made some laps. He kind of made some laps, had some fun with it. So yeah, I mean, Jeff, maybe put him in the car. I don't know, but there needs to be another generation. They all have boys, right? So there has to be another generation of racers. So they got to get that done. I got two more really quick ones here. Glenn Racer Brown, remember him from up in Thunder Bay, Ontario? He was a 67. He ran late model. I think he ran a super stock also, or diamond, I guess it would have been up there. But that was back Puka in the early 80s, right? Early 80s when Ron Jones was driving for my dad. I got a picture here. If you're watching this online, you see the picture. I must be like 7 years old standing in front of this car. Like I'm just a little guy, right? A lot skinnier back then. But Glenn Brown actually ran a Midwest modified this year.
Oh,
they get like 40 Midwest mods every night up in Thunder Bay.
Yeah,
it's absolutely crazy.
They're crushing it up there. That new track is crushing it. I mean, that's the best thing happened in Thunder Bay in 10 years.
And they hopefully they someday get late models back, because that was but their Midwest mod class is huge. That's the big one up there. And then Don Berger, a guy I don't know much about him racing, but I have a funny story. Hanky. And so we were down in Menominee. We used to go to the Punky Manor, and I was young, so obviously I wasn't drinking, but rumor has it everybody else was, right? Every night.
Rumor.
And I think it was Hanky's room, and I think he was sleeping, and everybody went in Don Berger's car, like the old chassis, the old carcass of the car I have in the picture here, if you're watching online, was like across the street. They literally picked up the car, carried it to the hotel, and the door opened out. It was kind of one of them motels where you had each door. It wasn't like an inside deal. You stepped out, and they literally put the car right in front of Hanky's door, and they just left it there. And it was good times. I'll have to ask Don about that sometime. So lots of 67s, but you're right, Puka. I mean, if you think back for us, I mean, it is literally the Tardy family. I mean, obviously you're married into the family, and they've been like family to us. I mean, we've known the family forever. You got like your in-laws are my parents' best friends down there in Arizona. So Yeah, the lots
Yeah.
of history with the Tardy family. So what do we got next
Yeah,
year?
that's kind of amazing what I was thinking about. So you only had two. I mean, it's kind of a rare number, I guess. Really. I mean, there just aren't a lot of them.
There's not. We had like 872. You know what? VJ Gigaware. I don't know a lot about this, but Bert sent me that. And you can maybe post in the comments, late model guy, and over from the Shawano area. I don't know if he came over to Hibbing. I have a picture of him. Maybe it was when I went over to the 100 with you guys over in Marshfield. That might have been yeah, that's probably when I got a picture of him, because I got a few of the Shawano guys. They always went to Marshfield to the 100. But a late model guy over in eastern Wisconsin, I don't think he's still doing it anymore, but I know he had a pretty good career over there. So if you have any info on that guy, go ahead and post it in the comments. So Bert, I almost forgot, but I didn't forget.
All right. Well, let's move on here. We're going to have some fan feedback presented by buyraceshirts.com, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a time of year, right? Racing season literally right around the corner, right? So if you're a track owner, a promoter, a series promoter, if you're a team, if you have a race team, if you're a driver, if you got kids and you want to have them in race apparel or whatever, or just a regular business, get a hold of buyraceshirts.com. They're over in Montevideo, Minnesota. For racers, by racers. They have a lot of different ways that you can actually purchase your apparel, whether it's hats or beanies or hoodies or t-shirts, whatever you need, they can get it. They do a great job. They get it to you in a timely fashion, and they have great pricing. So check them out, buyraceshirts.com.
All right. So the big fan question, the fan feedback question, I guess we'd call it. Brad asks, who are your top 10 super late model drivers of all time? This is juicy. I like this one.
This is good. I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I'm a sports guy, just like you. I mean, we love sports, and you hear in football, in the NFL, you hear the new people saying, oh, Patrick Mahomes, best NFL quarterback ever. It's like, well, how do you compare that to Tom Brady or Joe Montana? Like, it's a hard conversation. When you start looking at some of these late model guys, right? Tough conversation. Some of them guys raced 40, 50 years ago. They had a whole different situation than they have now. Hard to find a lot of info, but found quite a bit. So let's start with this. Did you write down your top 10?
I did.
Let's go ahead and start. Should we start with you, or should I just go quickly over what the other guys have, and then we can jump back to us? What do you want to do there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could. Sorry, I just had a window pop up here. Yeah. I mean, or should we go 10-1 a little bit and just kind of walk down and see? I mean,
we can go 10-1 on ours, and then we'll touch on what the other guys have. Let's do that. Who do you have? Okay. Who do you have at number 10?
All right. So just kind of my criteria, and I'm interested to see if you've got this. One of these elements was, of course, point titles was kind of something I looked at. Championships, whether it was Extreme, Lucas, Woo, Summer Nats, all that kind of thing. And then, of course, and this is what I'm worrying about, World 100 wins. There's a lot of big wins, but for some reason, if there are 3 or 4 or 5-time World 100, that really, popped out to me. But so my top number 10 is Ed Sanger. I mean, a guy who's in the late model Hall of Fame, a guy who's won the World 100, and a guy who, there you go.
Oh my God.
So is that what you had at 10? I mean, yeah, a guy who, I kind of look at a guy who won basically everything in the Midwest. I mean, things were different back then. Think of what the haulers were back then. There was no such thing as a hauler, really. I mean, I don't know what he transported in, never seen it, but I mean, a lot of guys were just hitting the roads with pickups with maybe like a pickup camper and a trailer. So I got Ed Sanger at number 10. What say you about him?
Crazy. And that is crazy. I got to throw kind of a local flair guy in 1974 World 100, Yankee Dirt Classic winner down at Hawkeye Downs. But more importantly to us, right, us northern Minnesota folks, he won an invitational. I think, was it called the Iron Man? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, it was the early summer one, the June one. Yeah.
Yeah, 1979, he won one in Hibbing. He won a couple NGK 50s at Rice Lake, and then the 1976 Silver 1000. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, in the region, the guy was flat out dominant, so dominant that a lot of his competitors actually started to buy cars. So they had the Sanger chassis for years. And I know he made trips up to Thunder Bay, but Ed Sanger for a long time was kind of a familiar face. Now, WISSOTA, it's a little shout out to you right here. Okay. Get your shit together. Okay. Because we don't have any Iowa drivers ever coming to a WISSOTA race anymore. Why? Because the rules don't allow it. WISSOTA. So this is something that we miss is, we're not going to see Illinois guys, Iowa guys, Nebraska guys. That's not a thing. Get on it. And it's not just WISSOTA, but all of these series promoters, if they could get together and kind of work on this, that kind of made specials special back in the day.
Yes. And that's why the repairable vehicles series is kind of growing and interests me, because they do, seem to draw some Iowa cars.
Absolutely.
All right. Number 9, I'm keeping it local. A guy with Lucas wins, Woo wins, Summer National wins, not heavy on the championship side, but again, a guy who's dominated kind of the Midwest here, Jimmy Mars. He's won everything in WISSOTA country. Like I said, he's got the Lucas, the Woo, the Summer Nationals wins. So I'm slotting him in here at number 9. Like I said, I guess the weakness I looked at was like, he just doesn't have that big title. WISSOTA national champion, maybe. I guess I didn't even look to see for sure. I'm sure he's got one of those, but I was kind of looking more at one of the major late model traveling series.
Yeah, and he never really raced too terribly much for that kind of stuff. But, and I don't have him in my top 10. It's not a slight. I got some honorable mentions here. He's definitely in the conversation. But, we talked about this when he retired a few, I guess, around the WISSOTA banquet time in November. I look back at his stats. If you go to his website and you look at the laundry list of races he won, it's impressive. He has, a lot better career than what I think a lot of people realize. So, at number 9 for me, and if you have Mars at 9, you probably got this guy higher. But I got the $1 Million Man, Donnie Moran.
Donnie didn't make my list. He was a consideration, but he didn't make my list. But yeah,
he's got 4 Stars championships, 3 All-Star Circuit of Champions championships, and of course, if you're the first guy to ever win a million to win race, it puts you there in the conversation. 4-time World 100 winner. 4-time World 100. Yeah. Dirt Track World Championship. He won a Dream, 3 Hillbilly Hunters, 1998. This little race down in Wisconsin called the USA Nationals. Got that done. Couple North-South 100s. Donnie Moran, legacy driver. He's got his kid out there racing at a high level. So Donnie Moran, I got him at number 9.
All right. Number 8, a guy that some of the young people probably hadn't heard of, and a guy whose career was obviously cut a little short, but Jeff Purvis, 3 Globes. And of course, he kind of left dirt racing, quote unquote, a little early. And, he did the NASCAR, back then it was the Busch series, would be the Xfinity series. Now he did some ARCA, did some NASCAR, got in that terrible accident. I think 2002. Is that when it was?
So.
2000.
Sounds about right.
So a guy that I think right as he was kind of starting to peak in dirt late models, and he started, kind of moving around. And of course, there was a time in the 80s there where all you wanted to do, even Kinzer was taking laps in NASCAR. And so I think that was kind of everybody's goal back then. People kind of didn't really stay put. I remember when, in the 90s, Lucas did some Busch races too. So it's a guy that I think if it was today, he might have stayed on dirt. So I don't think we got to see his maximum potential, but a guy that I think was pretty dominant when he was in it to win, as far as concentrating and just doing the dirt thing. I think he was pretty impressive. Who you got?
And I got him just a titch higher. So I'll touch a little bit more on him. I got him just a titch higher, but I have at number 8. Are you froze up there, Buka? There you go.
Okay. I hear you.
Yeah, technology. You're up on the range, but they haven't quite got it. Technology hasn't quite got up there.
We're going to get broadband this summer, they said.
There we go. So I have this gentleman here is one of Lem's favorite drivers. So Mark Tremberth, Lem, this is one of his favorite drivers of all time. According to records that they have, 1,024 feature wins for this guy. The winningest driver in NDRA late model history with 23 feature wins. 1981 NDRA champion. Actually, he was teammates with Larry Moore in the 41 car. Buck Simmons. I got Buck Simmons at number 8.
Yep, I remember Buck Simmons, but that was a little bit before my time. But yep, Larry Moore's partner. Awesome. All right, I'm bringing it back a little bit local again here. You're talking the winningest driver NDRA, probably the winningest late model driver. I mean, I could be wrong, but I would say probably the winningest dirt late model driver to come out of North Dakota. Two-time Summer Nationals champ. He's got all the crown jewels. Rick Auckland, of course, is who I'm talking about. I shouldn't say all the crown jewels. I didn't do the mega research, but he's got the big ones that show up on the map. And like I said, a couple of Summer Nationals titles there. I think 96, 97. And that's back when the Summer Nationals was the Summer Nationals. Those guys, that was
back. It's back though this year. It's back.
So they're gonna go back to when it like that formula
Yep.
Because back then it was like run a national tour or just do the Summer Nationals. The Summer Nationals, it was shorter, but it was a tour. Those guys raced for a living every single night of the week. Call it the Hell Tour. They raced, I don't know, back then, I don't know, 21, maybe 30 days in a row, whatever. And like I said, Auckland, two-time champ of that, grounded out. So that's why I got a number 7. Who do you got?
I don't have Auckland in my top 10, but he's phenomenal. Problem is he's got an asterisk next to his name because I whooped his ass as a kid on a go-kart track in Wisconsin. So I just it is what it is, crosses him off. But yeah, Rick Auckland, absolutely phenomenal history there. But I'm going to go with Blackjack Boggs.
Ooh,
I'm going to go with the old B4, 4-time Stars champion, World 100 winner in 95. He's got 3 dirt track world championship wins.
Okay.
I did not know that. I thought that was impressive. 3 Hillbilly hundreds. He's got the 3-time North-South 100, which turns out one of my favorite races down at Florence. 2-time USA Nationals winner.
I saw both of those, 94, 95, I believe.
Yeah, I did not realize that he won the USA Nationals twice. When I was looking through that, I'm like, my goodness, that's impressive. In the 450 plus feature wins, and that was a tragic incident when he, of course, lost his life as well. But Blackjack Boggs at number 7.
All right, number 6. I'm going controversial here just a little bit. 2 Lucas titles, a World of Outlaw title, plus a ton of mod wins, a Chili Bowl win, multiple Crown Jewel wins out of Watertown, New York. Number 39, T-Mac Tim McCready. Because sometimes I think that we reminisce sometimes about too much about the past. And I mean, I think this guy's a guy who's doing it right now. He's done it not just in late. I know we're said top 10 late models, but it's not like, he can win in other classes. Like I said, Chili Bowl, that's a big win. Of course, did a little bit of NASCAR stuff there too, I think in the mid 2000s, but I'm going with T-Mac. Like I said, the big thing for me was the 2 titles. One, the Woo in 06 as a rookie. And then, because he's one of only 3 drivers that's won both the Woo and the Lucas, Richards, Bloomquist, and T-Mac. So
that's good stuff. That's good stuff. I don't have him on the list. I have him. He was somebody I was looking at, and I'm like, he's close, not quite there, but another guy right there. I mean, this will be for another show, but if I had to pick 3 drivers to race for an actual championship, he'd be one of them. Yeah. For sure. For sure. He's that guy. So I have at number 6, I'm going to go back to Jeff Purvis here. So I slid him up a little bit higher. 3, like you said, 3-time World 100 winner. That's incredible on a very, very short, condensed career. I remember the old Circle Track Racing magazine.
Oh yeah, totally.
He was one of the few dirt cars, right, that was actually featured in there. So I became a fan. Him, Charlie Schwartz, Leon Plank was in there, and I'm like, who's
really
this Jeff
Plank
Purvis?
made it in there?
Yeah, yep, absolutely. So I thought that was pretty cool. 3-time, your favorite event. I'm surprised you didn't mention this, the National 100 down at East Alabama. So I wonder if it was like a 14-hour day back then as well. But 3-time North-South 100 as well. So, but back in the 80s, Jeff Purvis was phenomenal, and woulda, shoulda, coulda. Registered here over 350 feature wins. So, and always had sharp-looking cars, and blue and white number 15s were awesome.
Totally. All right. Ooh, we're into the top 5 now. And a guy you just mentioned, a guy who was innovative, kind of dominated for his time period, Charlie Schwartz, another dirt late model Hall of Famer, had that, I think it was 2 years ago at the World 100. Was he on the mic or was it the Dream World? I don't know. They had him they did that interview with him, and he has some great stories and great to hear. I don't have all the stats on him. I just remember like you said, when he was a kid. Well, I remember the time that he showed up in Superior, early 80s. And I was talking to Nesbitt one time, like Charlie Shorts come out of nowhere, shows up for back then it was the what they call it, the Tri-State Speedway?
It was a Tri-State Speedway, and it was
Speedway.
the AMSOIL Late Model Invitational.
Okay, that's what it was. And he had the
Yep.
AMSO sponsorship, and Nesbitt said, I immediately went up to the pay counter and said, what does second place pay? Because Charlie came in the pit. So, like I said, a guy that really dominated for a certain time there. Who you got at
And
five? And who are the other boys?
Nesbitt got second. I think Nesbitt got second.
I think he did get second. I think, yeah. I think that the results came on the 2020 history page within the last 5 years. And I was like, oh, interesting.
Right. So, you know what's crazy? And I talk about, I don't have Schwartz in my top 10. I had him just outside. And, you know, you think about all those wins. I mean, Jeff, I was talking to my buddy Jeff, and he said he's also known for the wedge car, right? The innovation he had with, you know, kind of, you're thinking aerodynamics back in the day. But Schwartz, storied career, but when I was looking into some of these other drivers, it's kind of slid him back just a little bit. I'm going to go maybe a little controversial as well. I'm going to go recent here, and I'm going to go Superman, Jonathan Davenport. So with the big wins that he has, right, you know, and championships that he has, and the first driver to win $2 million in a season, I mean, unbelievable. And I think this, as long as he doesn't race in Florida or maybe Georgia during speed weeks, his career can be like catastrophic. You just got to stay away from speed weeks. So I got JD at number 5.
Who do some of the other guys got?
Well, let's go the other guys here. So we'll keep our top 4 for a second. So Brad's got T-Mac in the top 10. No, he does not here. What do I got here? So he has he has Steve Francis. So Brad has Steve Francis, number 1. Now, I didn't have Francis in my top 10 at all, but Francis had a good career.
I didn't either.
With the World of Outlaws now. He has Moyer, Moran, Flintstone Flyer, Mike Duvall, Blackjack Boggs, Schwartz, Freddie Smith, Lanigan, Eckert, JD Owens, couple other guys. Dale McDowell's on a few people's lists because he's doing it at a high level. Scrub Rick Eckert is on a few people's lists. He had some dominant years in that Ray Vest number 24. Mike here, he kind of put down more of a local flair. You know, I love him, but we'll save that for another day. My kid, Joel Kreiderman, number 1. I mean, I love Joel Kreiderman. I don't really know if that.
I don't know. Yeah, that'd be a tough one.
Yeah, I you know, there's a lot of people. I mean, I think the top 2, and we'll get to them in a minute, they're pretty close on most people's. You know, Kent has JD at number 1. You know, he's kind of going with the recency thing there. John Gill's on a guy's list here. He had a good career as well. Looking through here. Yeah, other than that, it's kind of some of the same guys that we have here sliding up into the top 5. But, you know, I would say the top 2 are kind of the same for most. Schwartz is on a lot of people's lists. Brian Burkhofer is on some people's lists as well. Burkhofer, a hell of a race car driver. So let's go to number 4. What do you have for number 4?
All right. Well, I got Larry Moore. You know, like I said, we talked about Buck Simmons, you know, partner back in the day. What do I got? I did take some notes. 3-time World 100 winner. Did some ARCA. Did some USAC. Did some ASA. You know, this was I think the NDRA, like I said, was about the only series that was kind of really around back then. But you know, storied career for Mr. Moore. So I slid him in, again, kind of nostalgic, but slid him at number 4. Who do you got?
I actually have him also at, I'm looking at something here really quick. I have Larry Moore at number 4 also. So we both have him at 4. And yeah, first driver to win the World 100 3 times. First 3-time winner. And then, like, he had a big career in asphalt as well. He did win the Dirt Track World Championship, NDRA and Stars Championships, your National 100, the Hillbilly 100. So, I mean, Larry Moore, over 500 career registered feature wins. Hell of a career for him. And 2 teammates really in the top 10 with great careers.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'll move on to number 3 here. That's where I slid Superman in. Again, I think we're witnessing greatness before our eyes. And I don't dislike him, but I'm not like a huge fan of his. But when you start looking at paper, what he's done, obviously last year, phenomenal. But you go back to even the 2015 year where he won just about everything.
Right.
And, like I said, he's got the Lucas titles. Of course, last year he wasn't going for a title, but when he has raced for titles, he's always been right up there, very competitive. Crown Jewels, the list is this long. So I slid him in maybe a little high, but I think he's doing, like I said, I think sometimes I remember a time when Wayne Gretzky's dad said he had 7 points in a game and he didn't even make one of the 3 stars. Sometimes when they're doing it and you kind of get used to it, you don't appreciate it. But so I'm trying to give JD his due here. So who you got for 3?
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad deal. Hey, I want to slide back just a second. Do you remember that 1982 Super? I mean, we don't remember it, right? But we remember hearing about it. The 1982 Super Bowl of dirt racing, the one they had at the kind of the first indoor race, Pontiac Silverdome.
Yeah.
You remember who won that?
No.
Blackjack Boggs.
Really?
Yep.
Was it late models?
Yeah.
What was it? USAC? Oh, really? Oh, they raced late. Okay. I remember that, but I didn't know. I guess I just assumed it was USAC back then because they were doing some of that. So, wow.
Yeah,
really?
I was looking through his stats and it had 82 Super Bowl of dirt racing, Pontiac. So I'm like, I had no idea. Kind of cool.
Pontiac Silverdome. Yes. Remember that? All the football games.
So at number 3, and I this guy's from the South too. He might be from Georgia. I guess I can't remember. I feel like I should know this, but I'm going to go with the Southern Gentleman, Freddie Smith.
Freddie Smith.
I remember the bazooka car and the double zero. I mean, he has some sweet looking Barry Wright race cars back in the day. Over 750 wins, 5-time dirt track world championship winner. Is that the most? That's got to be the most.
Wait, that's got to be.
I don't think anybody else has 6. And he won it at Pennsboro and at Prestonburg, Kentucky. They had the race there as well. He won 2 Dreams, 2 Hillbilly 100s, 2 National 100s, a Topless, 2 Show Me's, the Dixie Nationals, the 1982 Ralph Earnhardt Memorial at Concord, North Carolina. That's kind of a cool one to win. Multiple wins down at Speed Weeks, but the Southern Gentleman, Freddie Smith, coming in at number 3.
All right. So I'm assuming these 2 haven't been mentioned, so I think we're gonna have a flip flop here on the top 2. But
maybe.
But I'm going with Mr. Smooth himself at number 2. I mean, what really needs to be said? I mean, the one thing that I did look up that I didn't really know for sure, but he has 6 Summer Nationals titles in his career. Like I said, what else needs to be said? It's Billy Moyer.
And I have him as number 2 also.
Oh, you do?
My buddy Jim, my old crew chief, is going to be super pissed at me. I'm sorry, right? But I mean, it is what it is. And there's going to be one reason why. And when we get to number 1, I'll tell you why. There's one reason that I went 1 with Bloomquist versus Moyer. But like you said, 6 UMP Summer National Hell Tour Championships, 6 World 100s.
Yeah.
6 globes, right? 8 Magnolia State 100, so that's a big one for him.
Yeah.
Then you look at it, right? Prairie Dirt Classic 5 times. Go for 50. Go for 50. How many times do you think you want to go for 50?
Give it another 5.
5 times. 5-time USA Nationals winner. 4 at the Topless, Illini, Jackson 100, twice at the Dream, right? Twice at the Dirt Track World Championship. 3-time World of Outlaw champion. Have a Tampa champion, NDRL champion. Yeah. I mean, I think he's at 837 career feature wins, still doing it, right?
Still doing it. I mean, these fake retirements, Brett Favre.
Right, exactly. Got to win in Don Shaw's car down there in Arizona, but Billy Moyer, one of the best. I mean, it's really 1 and 1B or 1A, 1B or whatever. I mean, you can put them both. If there's a Mount Rushmore to dirt racing, period, these 2 are on it. I'm going with Mr. Smooth at number 2, and at number 1, we both have the same guy. Yeah. So does Bert, right? He has him here too. The voodoo child himself, Black Sunshine, Scott Bloomquist. And
now that you're saying it, we're pretty lucky that we got to see Moyer and Bloomquist race each other. I mean, and I remember 2010 at USA Nationals, they were, I'd say about 8 cars finished that night. It rained, and we got to see those two. Moyer led most of the race, so he didn't get to go for a tire change. Bloomquist saw the field shrinking, so I don't know, 25 to go. He's like in 6th. He goes and gets 4 fresh tires, and then over time he gets through, and but it was awesome seeing those two go lap to lap. Two of the greatest.
Oh, absolutely. And would he have lapped the field at the World 100? Remember the year he was leading? He had the window net deal.
14.
They put him to the back. He came from last and won. Would he have lapped the field? Probably would have lapped the field in that deal, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Incredible.
I mean, so over 600 wins, right? 3 Lucas titles, a World of Outlaw Extreme. He's got multiple Hell Tour titles, multiple Have a Tampa titles, right? I mean, the list is on and on, right? Looking down at the USA Nationals, he's got 5 of those, 3 Dirt Track World Championships, 4. He's only got 4 globes, only 4 globes, right? But here was the kicker. The World 100, although it's the most prestigious, right? It didn't pay as much as the Dream. He's got 8. 8-time Dream winner. So, I mean, when the money's on the line, he performs at a high level. I don't think you can go wrong with either one. But right now, it's a good debate. We have Scott Bloomquist at number 1. I mean, just looking at the body of work they had, I mean, just like you said, I mean, that we got to watch, in my opinion, the heyday of racing, right? Through the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. Not that it ain't good now, but man, it felt like it was even better then. But
it did.
It is what it is.
So what was it? You made this point about 5 minutes ago. What was it that put you over the top, Bloomquist versus Moyer?
The Dreams versus the World 100s. I mean, when it's $100,000 to win, as compared to, I think it started, it was like 37, 39 or whatever, and then it kind of goes up every year or whatever at the World. Not that's, I mean, it's obviously huge, but when the money was on the line, I mean, and he even has a all-tech win down at Batesville in the modified. That was $100,000 to win.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes. So I mean, you look at twice at Knoxville, the Colossal 100 twice. I mean, we could sit here for 3 hours talking about all the wins that him and Moyer have. I mean, and we'd still not be through the list. I mean, it is what it is. But both of them, right? Both of these drivers decided to take a career in building their own stuff and working with other drivers. And Bloomquist still, and both of them still help other people. So they've given a lot to the sport. And I think we're super fortunate that we've been able to see both of these guys. Couple honorable mentions here. I didn't have Mars, you did. I didn't have Auckland, you did. Charlie Schwartz. I mean, it's pretty tough not to have him in the top 10, but you had him. Larry Phillips is a guy, right?
Phillips,
hundreds of wins for Larry Phillips, and the Flintstone Flyer, Mike Duvall. I mean, so you look at Red Farmer still doing it.
Oh, yeah. Now there's a guy that didn't even.
700 plus feature wins for Red Farmer.
That's horrible on my part. I feel terrible.
Yeah, he's like 90 and still getting it done. And like you look at Rick Eckert, Dale McDowell, T-Mac. I mean, there's a lot of good drivers out there, and I think it would be fun to really. I wish we had video footage of some of these, and there is some, right? Yeah. But like all of these races, fans today don't know how lucky they truly are, right? Because they can watch racing all over the country, and we do too, but we used to have to go. And I remember, Puka, being a little kid and getting a camera, right? And like having to talk my parents into like 24 exposure film to take some pictures. And now all the photos that are out of all these drivers and stuff, because everything's digital, man, it would have been nice to capture a lot more of those memories back in the day.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Everyone's spoiled now, like to the streaming. And then, I remember, early 2000s. And because I got a picture of you every year you raised. And what was it, Chris Miller or Neil Miller? No, Neil Miller. Neil Miller.
Yeah. Chris Burback and Neil Miller.
Yep. Okay. So I'd show up at Cedar Lake in 02, 03, 04. And instead of having to run you down in the pits, I was like, oh, just, whatever, $5. I get all the drivers I wanted, nice, professional, perfect photos, and throw them in the photo book. So, but now it's, I mean, you just download it off Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. So it's changed. So we got one more fan question
Yeah,
here. This one's
yeah. What did Patrick ask?
So Patrick asked this, and he sent it in. And I'll just read it. I'll read what he put. So the MB custom late models, right, are clearly, and it ain't close, the most popular late model in WISSOTA late model racing. And it ain't close. I mean, not that there's not some rockets or whatever, but when you look at the whole bulk of WISSOTA country, MB's got the market cornered. So the locals clearly think like that's got to be the best because that's why they bought it. But no cars on the national tour, right? So he's like, okay. So and then he said, well, Harry and Vang left rockets for MBs. Well, kind of, but not really, right? So Vang was in a rocket last year. He is in an MB this year. Okay, he's going to be in an MB this year, but that's not because he's like, I think not that MB's bad or rocket's better or whatever, but it had nothing to do with the fact that he wanted an MB. It had the fact to do with his sponsor told him he was driving an MB. Okay. That's why Harry is getting a car from Rusty Schlenk, one of those Dominator chassis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Harry is actually jumping, from what I understand, out of the MB into a Domination or Dominator, whatever it is, Rusty Schlenk car.
Wow.
So why is it the chassis of choice in WISSOTA? Why isn't it so big on the national tour? And I think it's just in the national deal. I think it's logistics, right? There's so many more big late model races in that region. That's where most of the guys are from. Rockets right there, Longhorns right there, and Mars and company. They said, hey, we got a big business here in our region. They don't need to be all over the country to have a successful business. Now, why do they think it's the best? I don't know that they think it's the best. I think that drivers kind of realize that a chassis is a chassis, right? I mean, yes, shocks can be better, setup can be better, and I'm sure you can have a bad chassis and a good chassis, but most of the late models are pretty darn good, including MBs, rockets, all of them. But if you live in Minnesota or Wisconsin, it comes down to this. If you wreck something, do you want to drive to Elkmont, Wisconsin, or Menominee, or whatever it's in, right? Or do you want to drive to West Virginia, right? Or Charlotte, North Carolina to get your car fixed? I think that's kind of the big reason why a lot of people go local and late models. And not that there's not a few mods from out of state as well, but it seems like modifieds, for sure, super stocks, Midwest mods, they're more regionally built. And I think a lot of it is logistics, and also, you face it, Jimmy Mars has raced all of the tracks, right? And they have the motor setback rule, right? They're on different motors. They're not on open motors. They're on steel block, aluminum head, different engine setback, different tires. I think you can probably get better feedback for WISSOTA racing from somebody that actually did WISSOTA racing or does at a high level. So I think that's why a lot of WISSOTA guys go with the MB.
Interesting. Okay, so good points there. All right, hammer that like button for us, please. We'll move on here to some USMTS action. This segment, Brian, brought to you by Brad Parson Ag Solutions.
I tell you, it's that time of year also, right? Spring is in the air. Spring is in the air. Snow is going to melt. Western Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota. If you are into farming, right? If that's what you do, you already understand and you already know that the right chemicals applied properly is going to yield you better results, more profitability, everything is better. Well, a lot of people kind of go off of name recognition. Well, I've been doing this for years. Well, things change, right? We kind of have that theory. You think back, and if you're a farmer, right? If you're a farmer out there, if you're stuck in your ways, you should be out there farming the way they did 50, 60 years ago. I'm pretty sure you're not. I'm pretty sure you got GPS and all that stuff now, right? Well, the same thing with the chemicals that you're putting in your fertilizer and your spray packages. Just because you have something, you're like, I think it works pretty good. Well, companies like what Brad offers here, they've been kind of working on this stuff for several years. The data is out there. They're improving these products to give you better results. Why not try what they have and see if maybe not the whole field, right? Maybe not all of your acreage, but do a portion of it and see for yourself what it does, and get a hold of Brad. 320-219-3542. But Brad Parson, and you got the eggs. I'm one of his many products that he has to offer. But give him a call, talk to him. visit with him a little bit, see what he has to offer. And I tell you what, I've seen some of the numbers, I've seen some of the data. I don't think you'll be disappointed to at least give it a try. So USMTS action there. It was supposed to race. So they raced at the Rocket Raceway Park down in Petty, Texas. It was supposed to race Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Mother Nature took care of that. She said, there ain't gonna be no racing Thursday, Friday. And I'm gonna tip the cap right here to the track crew down there, because it was rough. It was Cowboy Up night number 1. They raced Saturday, Sunday, so they kind of had to reshuffle the schedule. And she was Cowboy Up, and talking to or listening to what some of the drivers had to say. They're like, I'm just shocked they even raced, because when you get that much weather first night of the year, it can be a complete disaster. Night 1 was rough. There was some tore up stuff. Night 2, they had a better handle on it. But a couple things that stuck out. Both winners, neither one of them were in the top 10 in points last year for USMTS. Wow. So 87 mods, 87 mods. So you look at all these late model races across the country, right? I get it. There's more races and all that, but they got a 10,000 to win race. And you're like, man, I hope there's 30 cars. They got 10,000 to win and they got 87 mods. That's called promoting, my friends. Okay. So Staley and the boys down at USMTS, they do this thing called promoting. They reach out to the drivers. They try to get them there. That's a great deal. The winner of night number 1, IMCA modified standout, TBJ Tom Berry Jr. Put on an absolute Donnybrook with Terry Phillips. And kind of a fun story there, Puka. He went out in qualifying. He had issues with his transponder. So I think they either had to take the worst lap or whatever. He ended up starting 9th in the heat, okay, is where he ended up starting. So that's with 87 cars, you start 9th in your heat, you're going, shit, I hope I make the show. What are you talking about? Like, win the show. What do you make the show? 9th to 2nd in the heat, got in the redraw, started on the pole, but he swapped the lead there at the end with Terry Phillips. Harris chassis, so that's an old IMCA, chassis, and looking good. Terry Phillips in a Bloodline chassis, which is interesting. Terry Phillips been a GRT guy forever.
Yeah.
A few years back, Joe Garrison died. I think he's kind of got his own flair. He has somebody building them for him, and actually named this car Deuce over because Casey Arneson they called him Deuce, and so they named that car Deuce, and he got a sticker. Kind of a fun little video there on Racing Dirt. But a great race, night number 1, 10 grand to win. Tom Berry Jr. getting it done. Night number 2, your point leader after 2 nights got it done. He swapped the lead there with Tyler Wolf and Derek Ramirez, but Jake Tim parking the 49, the Rage chassis in Victory Lane. It was dry. It was a little marbly, disciplined. Oh, I'm going to have to plug my phone in there. Puka. Disciplined and lap traffic. So an absolute awesome run by Jake Tim. Super fun seeing him getting in Victory Lane. Of course, last year, Dustin Sorensen was your champion. He was not there, focusing on the late models. Could this be the year where Jake Tim takes home the big payday from USMTS? So I guess we'll find out. Dan Ebert, incidentally, is 3rd in points right now. Wow. So 2 Minnesota. I think he looks better. I think he's going to be better in that Mullins chassis. I think he just, from what I've seen so far, I think he's got a pretty good handle on things. I think that 60 is going to win some races.
All right, so we're going to move on to some big late model drama. You ready for that?
Yeah. Well, first, right?
Yeah.
But first, our new partner, right? And let's get into this, right? So our new partner here, and I've been talking about this. You weren't on the show. You were doing the hockey stuff, but you think back to November. I kind of hammered on Wasota and so on, and some of the promoters for raising the cost of Hoosier tires, which they aren't even close. UMP tires right now, mod tires, which are essentially pretty much the same tire, they're like $190 a piece. $190 a piece. So think about this for just a minute, right? Let's do math. Okay, I'm not trying to scare anybody away of racing, but let's do some math. You could literally drive from Hibbing to Grand Rapids, right? Pay for your fuel in your hauler, your fuel in your race car, you and a pit guy to get in and average 1 tire per night, and you would lose money if you won the feature without breaking anything. Okay. So I think we all agree, Puka, that the cost of tires it's out of our control, essentially, right? It's out of driver's control for sure, but it's through the roof. Even if you can get them, like last year, you couldn't even get tires, right? Hopefully that changes this year. I don't know, we'll see how that all incurs, and I don't know, maybe the raw material cost, maybe it's justified charging what they got to charge. I don't know. That's a discussion for another day. But I believe that as a racer, we all agree that the biggest cost you have on a weekly basis is tires, right? Steve Baker at M West Racing always used to say, the only thing that connects the race car to the racetrack is tires. Got to have good tires, right? Got to have tires. And he was right. So you have to have tires. Now, the problem with tires is if you're running at a high level, you're racing for money, they don't refire, right? So we have a company we partnered up with, brand new company here, and it's called Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. Now, the guy that founded this company, Buck, this guy's sharp, right? Very intelligent individual. So intelligent that he's actually in the NASA Hall of Fame. You heard me right. Ooh. NASA Hall of Fame for lubricants. So he understands lubricants, right? And he doesn't have just stuff for tires. He has stuff for engine treatments and oils. And he's got a whole array of stuff, right? We'll get to that at another time. But, in talking to him, it's like, you know what? We have a solution, right? Because people have to have tires. And we know right now that as a racer, okay, one thing that we hear all the time is, well, the tire looks good. It looks great. It's got plenty of tread on it. It looks good, right? But it just doesn't refire. It doesn't do anything, right? It just, I can't get it to work again. Well, that's because of the process, right? When they have the tire in the mold, right? They got these release agents. They got to spray stuff into the mold. So when they make the tire, you can actually get the tire back out of the mold, right? So that's the release agent.
Olive oil. They put olive oil in there.
Yeah. So where does that stuff go? It goes into the tire, right? So when a tire, right, you run it one night and you look at the tire, it gets glazed over, or maybe you get it hot and there's a long caution, it glazes over. Well, what that is the release agent, which is essentially kind of like a wax. It comes out of the tire and it seals the tire over, right? Well, that release agent isn't like part of the composition of the tire. That's like part of the process of making the tire in the mold. So, and there's no consistency there, right? Somebody might have sprayed more or less or whatever. There's no consistency. So they have multiple different products, right? And the first product they have is called Aqua. And this, what it is, it's a cleaner. So when you get your tire, you wash the tire, you soak it. It's a simple process. It pulls the release agent out, you spray it off, right? Very simple deal to do. So that's just a cleaner, but they also have a tire treatment. So the tire, they have several different, 3 different blends, 3 different types that you have. And we'll get into that another day. Maybe we'll post some videos or whatever on our page. But Advanced Performance Technology, they're the main vendor for this area. Chad is number 507-828-3536. Now you can also get these products, Puka, at TRE Race Performance, which is tennis racing in Alexandria. Yep. And that's Dave Tennis, and Dirt Track Supply. Our very own Dirt Track Supply is going to offer these products. I'm not a proponent of like softening tires. That's cheating, right? I'm not. If it's illegal, it's illegal. I'm not a proponent of cheating, but I'm also not a proponent of people not being able to race because they don't have tires. So we talked about the tires, okay? And this is several, but I'm just going to mention them because I talk to John all the time. End of the year, right? End of the year gets to August. Tire shortage. The only tires they have are kind of wore out, right? And they're like, we're not going to go to the last regular night of racing or the last couple regular nights because we want to save our new tires for Labor Day.
I remember that.
Well, track promoters, think about that. That's happening everywhere. A lot of drivers did that, right? They do that every year. They're like, I can't justify going, and even if you can get them, going to spend all this money on tires for one more regular show if I'm not racing for points, right? So my question is this. I'm going to ask you, right? I want you to think to yourself, Puka, as a promoter, okay? Why would you want to make tire treatment illegal? Give me think as a promoter what they might say. And this includes, and this is not a softener, this is a treatment. Basically, what these products do is they fill the voids. When you pull that release agent out, there's spaces in there, and it's kind of filling that back up with stuff that's already in the tire. Okay, so you're not putting different stuff in the tire to make it softer. You're just making it more consistent so that it's more repeatable. You can get 2, 3, 4 nights out of it. But if you're a promoter, it's always been voodoo, right? Oh man, we can't have softener, we can't do nothing to tires. Why?
Well, the Hoosier kickback, right? Don't they all get a check from Hoosier?
Yeah, but promoters ain't gonna say that. You know what I mean? So I'm not. So look, when I've talked to a couple of promoters, they said, "Well, you start doing stuff, the tires ain't gonna last very long." Well, they only last one night now. What are you talking about? Right? You can't last. They ain't gonna last less, right? They last one night now. So if you can take a person that's on a budget, right, and they don't even recommend putting the treatment stuff on the brand new tires. They said use a cleaner, run them one night, get a heat cycle, then treat them from night 2, night 3, night 4. Well, all that's doing is taking your lower budget teams and allowing them to compete at a lower cost. It's helping the sport, right? So this product here, I tell you what, it's definitely worth looking into. You know, TRE, like I said, has it. We got his number posted here. We're going to have more information on it, but I believe this could be a cure to the rising cost in tires. This could be the cure right here, Puka, and I'm excited for it. So thanks to those guys, Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants.
Yes, thanks for coming on board. And yes, racers, please check them out. Save yourself a couple of bucks. All right, like I said, big late model drama. Let's start with the Spring Nationals.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, they had Swainsboro night 1, didn't really get to see anything because there was no internet, streaming went down. Of course, night number 1 in the books, Brandon Overton parked in Victory Lane. Ethan Dotson, rising star in the modified ranks. He's in a late model. Looks like that might be kind of a semi-permanent thing. So he got 4th on night number 1. Then they went to Sonoya, okay? On night number 2, they had 43 late models register, Puka.
I heard about this one.
24 of them loaded up after time trials and said, nah, I ain't racing on that shit, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't watch it live. I'm like, man, how bad was this deal, right? I think only like 18 or 19 actually raced the feature. and it was a little rough. It was a little rough. And Will Harrington got it done. And drivers pulled off because of the holes. But I looked at Rocket Raceway Park with the USMTS, night 1 down there because of the rain. And they had rain here too. Sonoya is usually super nice.
Yeah. Well, Sonoya's the one that covered the track last year for the Peach State, right?
It is. So they did everything they can to get this deal in. I didn't think it was that rough, right? I mean, I look at it and it was way rougher at Rocket Raceway Park, and I'm sure there was tore up equipment, but you know, on one side of me, I'm like, what are these guys doing? Like, race. On the other side of me, it's $500 to start, right? And I had a buddy of mine say they should have at least started the race, get $500. Well, I'm going to tip my cap to the drivers that did not do that, right? Because there's no reason to literally be taking money out of the pockets of the promoter if you're not going to perform and put on a show. So some of the drivers even posted on social media and they said, look, we're going to load up. It's nothing against the track. They tried their butt off. We're just on a low budget. Can't afford to tear stuff up. We're not going to start and park because we don't want to take free money. We're just going to opt to not race this. I think that's first class, but it was a little bit of drama down there at Sonoy. And then, of course, Cherokee Speedway.
Southern All-Stars.
That's where the big drama was. Southern All-Stars down there. One of my favorite announcers, Dwayne Keith. I mean, he's on the mic. It's like watching a WrestleMania, right? But in the feature, there was caution with maybe a dozen, around 15 to go, right? Over halfway through the feature. And Mike Marlar's leading. Downtown, Michael Brown is running second. Madden's in third. Overton's in fourth. There's a restart, right? On the restart, and for those of you listening to it, on the restart, Chris Madden's right front tire went down when he hit the gas, drove up the track from what it looked like to me, gets into the side of Overton. Overton gets a flat, right? So they're both done. Yellow comes out, and they're like jawing at each other, and like literally there's post-race antics. Like they get into each other on the track. You can tell there's some, like some heated stuff on the track. And Chris Madden, okay, and I'm gonna ask, you're a hockey guy. This fits you. Chris Madden's that guy that is literally like when something happens, he's in your grill, he's in your cockpit, he's taking the window down. He is like aggressively in your face. Brandon Overton got out of his car and gave him a couple chest bumps and shoved him. And there goes Chris Madden walking away. I don't know what to think about that. Right?
Yeah, until 10 guys showed up on Madden's side, then he was tough again.
yeah. It's kind of like that the kid in the playground. It's like, just hold me back, make it look like I'm gonna get him, right? Just hold me back. I'm gonna kill you. If I wasn't being held back right now, I'd be coming after
That's
you.
Right.
I think Madden kind of looked at that and said, okay, CrossFit by Overton. I'll yell at him, but I think this is probably a poor decision right here. I mean, I got $20 on Overton to whoop the shit out of him, but I don't know. He's kind of that driver, right? That like he talks a big game, but you do that. You can do that pretty good till you get punched in the mouth.
Well, and he had nothing to be angry with. I mean, he pushed into Overton, so he had no reason to be mad at Overton. But he comes down to Overton Parks. He comes down and yells at him. So yeah, I didn't understand that. What why he had his panties all up in a bunch. It wasn't Overton's fault. What could Overton do? Overton was on the outside.
That's kind of what I thought. I mean, I'm not really sure. Maybe I have no idea. But what got overlooked in that deal? So restart comes out. On the ensuing restart, or on that same yellow, your leader, Mike Marlar, he gets a flat tire.
Yes.
So then on the restart, Michael Brown is leading the race, right? He comes out of turn 4, and Fergie goes by him in a new Longhorn, by the way. Fergie in a Longhorn.
Yes. Yep. I heard that.
Drives by him like he's broke, comes into turn 1, he has a flat. So essentially, not even in a 1 lap period of time, the top 4 out of the race, Chris Ferguson wins in a tire either. They went through a lot of tires.
Yeah, always lots of drama there with the tires. For those of you who don't know Cherokee, it's notorious for being an abrasive track. It's a pretty big track, and it always comes down to tire strategy there. So if you're listening on podcast, go to the One to Go Show YouTube page, give us a subscribe while you're there, and you can check out the video. Pretty interesting little confrontation down there in South Carolina.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Yeah, you got
or the North Carolina.
Gaffney, South Carolina. You're right.
Okay.
You're right. Yeah, you got to get the blood pumping. Got to keep things interesting a little bit. So we'll see if maybe they have a little bit of a duel throughout the season here, or if maybe they kind of kissed and made up. World of Outlaw Sprint Cars, not a lot of action there, Puka. They were down at Volusia to close out, kind of close out Speed Weeks. They had the big gator. Logan Schuchart won the big gator. He didn't win the feature. I should maybe get points for that because I picked him. I don't think I will. But Carson Macedo, he won night 1. They had the makeup feature from Speed Weeks. James McFadden, win number 100 for Roth Motorsports in sprint car action. So congratulations there. A side note, first win, Toyota engine.
I did hear about that. Yep. First one. Yep.
Toyota engine. And then David Gravel, he got his 3rd of the year. So he's won 3 of 5. So the Deuce, I tell you what, he came up really close to winning that championship last year.
Right.
He's hungry. I tell you what, Brad Sweet, your days are numbered.
Yeah, he hung on last year. All right, so let's move on to the weekly pickups. I haven't been, I'm not involved. I'm not really following it. How you doing this year?
Well, you're only like 7 wins behind Bert, so you're not doing too bad. So Kurt, we got a few new guys this year.
Yeah.
So yeah. Kurt is at 29. Jeff is up at 27. I'm at 24. And then Mike and Kent are at 22. Brad is at 21. Dan is at 19. Bert is at 14. Carl, not so hot Carl, right, which is Jeff's brother. He was kind of in the basement, but he's crawled out of the basement and is now tied with your 2-time and defending champion, Bert Lehman, at 14. It's a lot of racing to go. Yeah. So this week we're going to pick Port Royal has 2 World of Outlaw sprint car features. So World of Outlaws versus the Posse. Last year, Puka, there was 9 World of Outlaw sprint car races held in the state of Pennsylvania. Okay. Now you can look at it that it was 2 wins for the Outlaws, 7 wins for the Posse. Or, okay, because the 2 wins for the Outlaws was Brad Sweet and Jacob Allen. Okay. So to me, Jacob Allen is a Pennsylvania Posse World of Outlaw marriage, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of look at it as you got 1 win for the Outlaws, 7 for the Posse, and 1 for your Outlaw Posse guy. It's kind of how I have it. So it'll be interesting. Best rivalry in dirt racing by far is the Pennsylvania Posse versus the World of Outlaws. We were going to pick the Spring 50 at Florence. That has rained out. They rescheduled that event, but we are going to pick the Spring Nationals race down at the 411. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be there or not. I'm kind of looking forward to the next time Madden and Overton are maybe next to each other. See if cooler heads have prevailed or if there's a little drama. So let's jump into the last lap.
Yeah, the last lap. Brought to you, of course, by our friends over at Zuli's Race Engines. A little bit too early to have a list of winners, though, Ryan.
I tell you what, it is, but not by much. Not by much. I mean, all you got to do is look at their Facebook page from last year. Win, A main wins, big event wins, right? Championship wins. So whether you need the durability to win a championship or you just need the flat out speed to win an A main, right? Zuli's Race Engines has that. If you can't beat them, join them. Check them out on Facebook. Give them a call. Get on the list, and you'll be glad you did. So Zuli's Race Engines.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, happy birthday to a local legend.
Our buddy Crash. Yeah, my boy. 80, I think he's gonna be 83 years old. So they got Motorhead Madness this week, car show, the annual car show down in Duluth, and I'm sure he'll be down there. He took a hell of a fall a couple nights ago. He fell. He broke his kneecap. I mean, that's bad at any age, but best wishes to him to get healed up. He'd get back out on the dance floor there. So happy birthday to Crash. He's like family to me. And another thing I have coming up here, I'm super excited about. If I said
got a big one,
I do. I mean, if I said, man, we have a late model guy from our region. I mean, there's a lot of them that have been good. But if I said, you just think of a Cedar Lake area late model guy, and he ran a lot of different classes, who would that be? Labor Day shootout wins. I mean, he's won everything.
Wow. It's Rick Eggersdorf.
Agent Orange, Rick Eggersdorf. So me and Mason, who does all of our editing, Mason Aaron's videos, check him out on Facebook, does a great job, YouTube. And him and I are going to go down and we're going to sit down. I know Don Swearingen's going to be there. I think Slammer's going to be there. Sounds like there's going to be multiple people there, but we are actually going to go and spend a day with Rick Eggersdorf and be able to just kind of reminisce, talk old stories. Dude, I am so pumped about this. I'm still a little bit bitter about him getting that win at Tony Stewart night over me I think I won that, but what we're going to talk about that when we get there.
He's won a lot of races down there by inches. Yeah.
He's won a lot of races everywhere, but it's going to be fun. So fans, if you have a favorite Rick Eggersdorf story, if you have a question that you're like, man, ask him this, shoot that to us, because I love to, love to get a little interaction with that. It's going to be a blast. I don't know how long it's going to take to put that together, but we're going to be there in about a week. So I'm super excited for that.
Awesome. Yeah, put in the comments. Get your questions out there.
Yep. A little bit of news in NASCAR. Not a big NASCAR show, although our buddy Brad, right? Brad loves NASCAR. Sorry, we're not going to spend a lot of time there. Chase Elliott had a snowboarding accident, out indefinitely after surgery.
Wow.
So he's out. Yeah. So he missed this past weekend's race, but he's out right now. He's out. Okay. So think back, Michael Schumacher, right? One of the best, maybe the best F1 guy ever, right? He had that horrible deal skiing, which is kind of like snowboarding. What's your thoughts on that? When they're paying these athletes, whether it's a NASCAR guy, NFL, hockey, whatever, do they have stuff in their contract that they're not supposed to be doing, like extreme sports like that? Or
they usually do. I mean, it's the NHL guys I know. It's not in writing necessarily, but it's conversations with the general manager strongly, recommended. I mean, I've even heard quarterbacks where it's like, you don't ever even put a knife in your hand. Right. We don't need that knife doing anything to either finger on either hand or anything. It's like, you just stay away from X-Acto knives, blenders. I mean, I'm serious. Like, I've heard that. Right. So I am very surprised to hear, because I saw it on the agenda and I had no idea that he got into all things a snowboarding accident.
It's snowboarding, yeah. So I know exactly what the injury was, but he had to have surgery. He's out. I don't know when he's going to be back. I haven't heard a timetable, but man, that's a heck of a deal right there. That's a big investment. These drivers get paid a lot of money. So you got to be a little smarter than that. Southern Raceway. So there's some drama, right?
Yeah.
So Bravo went down there, which
Yeah.
usually that's the drama. Usually we get good stuff from Bravo. Well, he's been posting it on Facebook. Did you see that on his Facebook page?
Yeah, I did.
So
I actually talked to him. Yeah, he said it was crazy down there.
Yeah, there was a brawl. Literally, one of the guys stepped in and like beat a guy in the head like 8 times with a shovel. Well, he's in jail. He did get arrested for that. And, so I saw that on just follow Jeff Provenzino on Facebook because he kind of follows this stuff a little bit. But unbelievable. I mean, I thought people I'll be honest, I thought like the Kelly Lakers were batshit crazy. The people down in Milton, Florida are like, dude, hold my beer. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even on the same level. So I was called out by another one of our fans here, and they said, because I mentioned, man, B-Shep needs to get on the Rumley Bilstein deal. I think he is. I saw some pictures, and I had a fan reach out and say, look, I think he's on that. I think he got on that kind of towards the end of Speed Weeks there. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out, because B-Shep, quite honestly, that transition to the Longhorn didn't help him. He was struggling. I mean, he's been terrible. So we'll see if maybe they can find a little speed there. And I tell you what, one of the good guys in the sport. I'm a big Brandon Shepherd fan. I really like.
Oh yeah. Like I said, he's kind of that next guy now. Can he get that Lucas title? Be the 4th guy to win, the title in both series. He's I'd say he's the favorite, right? I mean, to potentially do that.
And the winningest driver all time in World of Outlaw late model history. So it'll be interesting to see if he can turn that around. Speaking of turning it around, Turbo, who ended the season with a bang. Of course, he lost his dad, tragedy, wins the Gateway Dirt Nationals. Kind of starts out the season just in a funk. Not really. He had a win, a couple good nights, but not really running well. Well, his longtime crew chief for Best Motorsports, Randall Edwards, made the decision last week to leave Turbo's team and join up with Garrett Smith. How is that going to affect Turbo for 2023?
Well, I just can't see. There's no positivity in that. And Garrett Smith, we already know from the Dirt Track World Championship, he's kind of got Bloomquist in his ear. Now he's going to experience crew chief. I mean, that you talk about resources coming to that camp. And like I said, I mean, I think Turbo's highest finish in Lucas points was maybe in 2019 with a 3rd, and he's been consistently moving backwards since that time. So, I mean, a little trouble there for our Texas buddy. I mean, I hope he can regroup. I like Turbo, but that's a big loss for him. What do you think?
He's good for the sport. Yeah, when he's on, he's super fun to watch. He's one of those guys, him, Bobby Pierce, Josh Rice, we'll buy a ticket just to watch those guys. And I mean, let's face it, Jimmy Owens, right? When Cody Mallory left Jimmy Owens, he turned into just an average racer at best, right?
And he dominated. It wasn't even, remember, he won the points by like 400 points.
Yes. And that was just the only difference from year 1 to year 2 was losing that crew chief. Well, same thing here. So it sounded like it was mutual, but I don't know how the Best Motorsports deal works out. Maybe they have a contingency plan that hasn't been announced. Could we see reckless speculation here, Puka? Could we see maybe because he has a rocket.
He's a rocket guy. Yep.
So Cody Mallory spending a lot of time with Rocket One. Could we see Cody Mallory stepping in and helping Turbo before too long here?
Interesting thought. Stay tuned.
Keep an eye on that one right there. So our bold predictions here, Puka. We've been doing, so me and Bert, what we've been doing, got this off of Score North, off of Purple Daily. They do this every week. Thought it was kind of cool. So we make 3 bold predictions, something that you can actually quantify, not an opinion. It either happens or doesn't happen, right? And we're going to keep track of this deal. The winner at the end of the year gets a free car or something. And so off the board this week, Bert had Jared Seifert gets a win. He went down to a little series down there in Texas. He got a DNQ, a 20th and a 21st. That was incorrect. He had Derek Ramirez was going to win 2 A mains this weekend in USMTS action. He got second on the second night there. Did not find victory lane, so that was incorrect. He had Brad Sweet, the big cat, winless at the high flying half mile in Volusia. That one he got, ding ding ding. He got that one correct. I had a bad week. Again. I think I'm throwing too many like haymakers here. Like instead of taking low line.
Well, it's got to be bold. You're saying bold predictions.
I did. So and this wasn't all that bold. I thought this probably was going to happen. I had Chris Smokey Madden was going to win the 20 grand at Cherokee. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. He didn't. Okay. At the end of the day, he did not. I had local drivers that race Mississippi Thunder and Deer Creek, like that contingent of mod drivers combined. We're going to have at least 2 podiums this weekend at Rocket Raceway Park in USMTS action. Jake Tim, winner. Night number 2, he was the only podium. There was a few less of them there than I thought was going to be. But the fact is, I got shorted one night, but I can't make excuses. That was incorrect. And then I also had, because there was going to be a lot of racing, Mother Nature took some of it away, but it is what it is. I didn't put a stipulation in. With all the sprint car modified and late model action there was, I said there's going to be at least one feature in each one of those divisions that the winner won by taking the lead in the final 2 laps of the race. Yeah, no, not close. That was like a huge swing and a miss. That was kind of like a curveball that like missed a plate, and I like swung at it, and you're like, "What are you swinging at?" Like that was that one right there. So the standings. I have 10 correct, 23 incorrect, batting 30.3. Not real good. 6 left on the board.
But it's early in the baseball season.
It's early.
It's just training camp. You're good.
It's early. Bert has 16 correct, 17 incorrect, 6 on the board. So he's just under 500 at 48.5%. So he's got the edge on me right now. I've got a little work to do. I'm going to have to take some low-lying fruit here. So do you want to throw in a prediction of your own here?
Yeah. I listened to the show, so I haven't been following. You said state hockey. I got a ton going on, and I'll give you 2 bold predictions.
All right, so let's do this. Since you're only going to do 2, I'll start with Bert. I'll go to me, then we'll go to you. So we'll do that. So Bert gave me this one. So he said, so the Eastern Wisconsin tracks are set to open, right? Several of them are set to open on the weekend of April 15th. With the weather, the snow, and all that, he says, not happening. He said the openers in Wisconsin, so Bert being Debbie Downer here, right? He said they're going to be pushed back at least 1 week. So that is so all the openers in Eastern Wisconsin will be pushed back at least 1 week. So I have red hot David Gravel is going to go up to the mighty Posse Country, and he's going to steal at least one of the 2 wins this weekend in World of Outlaw sprint car action.
Okay, and that's where my focus was. So I heard or saw Donnie Schatz at a fast time the other night, and so I'm going with Donnie Schatz taking one from the Posse up there at Port Royal.
Okay, Schatz wins one at Port Royal. I like it. So back to Bert. We're going to stick with this theme. He has the Posse is going to sweep Port Royal this weekend.
Oof.
So they're going to win both.
That is a bold prediction.
You got DeWeese, Marks, Anthony Macri. You got all. I mean, so yeah, I guess. But yeah, that's bold right there too. They kind of had World of Outlaw number last year.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick with the World of Outlaw sprint car theme. In World of Outlaw sprint car events in 2023 held in the state of Pennsylvania, the World of Outlaws will win at least 3 of the features held in Pennsylvania for World of Outlaw sprint cars.
Okay, that's a good one. All right, my second prediction is the World Warriors will win the single A state hockey tournament in here in Minnesota. We just lost half our audience. They're like, what the hell are you talking about?
If you would have picked Hermantown, you'd have had all the Iron Rangers like trying to burn your Rapids people, burning your house down.
Exactly.
People wanting to kill your family. Yeah.
So it's
we'll
not
stick
very
with
bold, but Warrell's going to win the single A state hockey tournament. Check it right here. And like I said, I'm sorry to half the audience who don't know what we're talking about, but go online on Sunday and just WARROAD. Check it out.
And if you don't know, Puka does a hockey podcast, so a shameless plug to your show here.
Yeah.
Tea with Miss McGill.
Tea with Miss McGill.
You gotta check it out. Now, if you're not a hockey fan, okay, first things first, find it online. There's an old hockey movie, Dean Youngblood, right? The movie's called Youngblood.
Right. You know
Rob
it, right?
Lowe is the main actor. Was Patrick Swayze? Is he in that?
Patrick Swayze, Rob Lowe, Keanu Reeves.
Yep. Keanu Reeves. It's excellent. Great movie. Absolutely. If you like hockey, if you like sports, it's a must watch. You will understand then the Tea with Miss McGill reference. Okay, so you gotta watch it. It's worth the watch. So Bert he's gonna go cross sports here. He said it's Jordan Love time in Green Bay. He said Jordan Love will be the starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers in 2023. And
I heard that. I heard what's his name? Rogers was it? What did he go to a dark room or something for a week or something? What was it?
Yeah, he basically went into a room, absolutely no light, all pure darkness, and just kind of a straight up however many hours of meditation. And yeah, probably smoking some reefer. I'm not really sure what he was doing. He's kind of a gypsy now a little bit, kind of got the hippie look to him. So
I guess now we know why Danica Patrick said sayonara to him, huh?
Well, I can tell you right now that if I can make a fraction, he's doing something better than what we're doing because he makes a little bit more money. It's not, so
he's in a high tax market. Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to close it out with this. And I'm not even 100% sure if he's going to be there. So this is kind of a speculative one. If he's not there, it's like a bunt, right, in baseball. So if he's not, or it's like a walk. So if he's not there, I don't think it even counts. But if Ricky Weiss is at 4-1-1, okay? If he's there, if he's not there, it's a walk, doesn't count, for or against, okay? If Ricky Weiss is at 411 Speedway this weekend, he's going to finish in the top 5 in the feature.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, he runs pretty well there. So with that said, that's thanks for coming on, man. Episode 167 in the books.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Anything else to add, or I can sign us off?
No, go ahead, sign us off. All
right, perfect. Yeah. So like I said, thanks for listening. Please subscribe, hit the like button, share the show. We had a lot of good stuff here tonight. Of course, we always have merch and swag. So get a hold of one of us if you want some merch or swag. As always, thank you to our great partners. Of course, Daytona One, our new partner that came on board, Dirt Track Supply, Brad Parsons Soil and Ag Solutions, Zuli Race Engines, BuyRaceShirts.com, Impact Health Sharing, Dirt Race Central, and Mason Aaron's videos. The One to Go Show at gmail.com if you want to get a hold of us more privately. We have been getting more and more emails. That's where some of the fan questions are coming from. So feel free to hit us up there. Find the One to Go Show on Spotify, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, and YouTube. For Idaho, it is Puka speaking. Get out there and be your dream. You're tuned to the One to Go Show.